How's everybody doing? Appreciate you coming out today. Obviously, it's a exciting time of year. For coaches, I think it's about as good as it gets because you get to start building your team, putting your team together. Before we get started and talk a little bit about kind of how things have gone here since we started October 3rd, I want to review a little bit our spring training camp, our summer training camp, our fall training camp. I tell the players often that there comes a time where winter will ask, what did you do last summer? And I think our guys really approached it with the right mentality. I thought that the springtime was an opportunity for us to really lock in on some strength and conditioning areas with certain guys on our team, really with everybody. They had different goals that they were attacking and really spent a lot of time on individual offensive skill development, saw guys really improve and get better throughout that 4-week program. They then went home, came back for the summer. We had them for 8 weeks this summer. It was very rigorous. It included, SEAL team training again, weightlifting, some practice sprinkled in there with some position as well as individual workouts. I thought our guys did a great job of attacking it. They did very well academically again for really the second consecutive summer back to back, and I thought we had a great summer. Got better in a lot of different areas. They then went home for a couple weeks, came back in the fall. Certainly fall, you're into strength and conditioning mode again like you are in the spring and the summer, but it becomes more conditioning. We set a goal to be in the best shape of any team that I've coached as a head coach, either at Ohio or at Illinois, leading into the October 3rd practice. We were more demanding, for sure. We made things very challenging for them, and I think beyond the shadow of a doubt, top to bottom, throughout the 15 guys on our roster, that we came into the October 3rd preseason practice on that first Friday in the best shape that I've had certainly a team be in as a head coach. So I thought that was really encouraging. A lot of guys have added weight. A lot of guys have gotten stronger. Certainly the numbers show that. A lot of guys are better just because of familiarity and experience level. Having been here for a little bit longer, I think has helped some of our guys tremendously. As we shift into, year 3 and head into the 3rd year, I think, this is a completely different situation than when I stood up here before you before the beginning of year 1 or year 2, in that 11 of 15 players are returners. Again, I expect a lot out of them with our culture in terms of knowing how we do things both on and off the court. And they've done nothing but impress in both of those areas. I think it's afforded us the opportunity because of the relationships we've built with our returners, the trust factor, our staff. I've got a great staff and a great support staff. Our players believe in what we're doing. They trust those individuals that work with them on a daily basis, regardless of the area. We have some really special personnel that our guys get the opportunity to work with those staff and support staff members, and because of that, they've taken full advantage of those opportunities, and we've really improved. So, I'm excited. I did challenge them really between last year and this year in 2 areas. From a depth perspective, it is the deepest team that we've had in the 3 years. From an experience perspective, obviously, completely different than year 1. As I said earlier, when I stood up here, everything was new to everybody. Last year, we brought in 9 newcomers. I'll repeat that number for you one more time. 9. Okay, and I hope that we don't have to, do that many again. I've still yet to run into a coach that's brought in 9 new guys. Ran into coaches that have had guys sitting out that added up to that 9, but not 9 newcomers. And so I think because of that, though, their experience has really been helpful. The experiences they've been through have been helpful to them and have put them in the position now with a deeper team, a more experienced team, more continuity, and they have a great feel for what we're doing. I challenged them in the summer when we had our first team meeting, when we added all the new guys and we had all of our guys in place. I had them over to my house for a team meeting, and I took them out back to the swimming pool and made them take their shoes off and put all 10 toes in the water. Said, I'm not interested in 7 or 8 or 9 or 6 digits. I want all 10 of them in the water. You guys know exactly what we expect off the court, in the classroom, and on the court. And that's what I'm going to expect at the highest level. I've got great confidence in what we're doing and where we're going. Certainly the guys that return are a huge part of that in helping us build and lay that foundation and continue to move that needle forward with our culture. So that's why you'll see the bracelets they have on have the number 10 on the back of them. That 10 stands for 10 toes in to our culture, our standards, our expectations, and what we expect really in all areas. The other two things we talked to them about a great deal because of the depth. We've talked to them a lot about sacrifice. Okay, that great teams have an ability to sacrifice. Everyone has to sacrifice. I have to sacrifice. The assistant coaches have to sacrifice. The staff, the support staff, the players. If everyone did just what they want to do all the time and looked at it through their eyes only, then you wouldn't have a team. You wouldn't have a successful business. You wouldn't have an organization that puts itself in position to be its best. So we've talked a lot about sacrifice. We've also talked a lot about what we call the double Ds, discipline and details, being more detailed and disciplined in everything that we do. I think our guys have not only heard that for 3 years, but last year they felt that. You know, when you're certainly grateful for the opportunity to be in postseason play last year, but our players, I think, preferably, and all of us would have rather been in the other postseason tournament. And when you miss that by the hair of your chinny chin chin, you know, and you feel that, you know, I think it really, really accentuates and makes those details and the discipline that's required both on and off the court to be a champion come more to light, and it makes them value and appreciate those things even more. You know, so I think that's really been a positive, and I think we've made steps with that as well. So, you know, for us right now, it's about getting better. You know, I think our guys know that my mindset's very much of growth, not fixed. I certainly don't want to put a cap or ceiling on this team. I don't want to do that. You know, I've kind of learned that over the years. It's about getting better. The outcomes will take care of themselves. If you have a culture that really you believe in, which we do, and the players adhere to that, which they've done, and you keep working every day to get a little bit better, whether it's offensively or defensively or as a person or as a student, that those results will ultimately take care of themselves. You know, so for us, that's why our goal is always to play our best late in the year. You know, we're of that mindset. You know, Tracy and I were talking about it the other day, Abrams, where, you know, hey, for us, we want to be not as good as better than we were yesterday, but not as good as tomorrow, and that's kind of our mindset. And I think our older guys have certainly really honored that and understand the importance of that to us and to me as we continue to move our program forward. So I'll take questions at this time. Just how are we doing it, Kent? Are we just raising hands? Are we passing the mic around, or what's the? Okay, here we go.
John, obviously losing Tracy, but losing a guy in the front court as well. I mean, you had a lot of depth. You still have some depth, but how does that change anything that you guys have kind of planned?
Well, I've always said this: the addition or deletion of any player, even if it's just one player, can change the dynamic of a team. You know, I really believe that. Just one addition, one subtraction. So obviously for us, we've got a lot of returners, as you mentioned, you know, Jeremy, so that's a good thing. That ripple effect then becomes a little less. But there is one a little bit, you know, certainly with Tracy, you know, for us, it's more leadership, intangibles, toughness, grit, voice, you know, aside from the fact that he's a good player. You know, we certainly miss him as a player, but we've got to find a way to, you know, next man up and kind of overcome that. That presents opportunities maybe for some other guys, or more opportunity than maybe what a guy would have had potentially. But at the end of the day, those guys got to earn that. You know, front court depth. Obviously, you always want to have depth. Period. I don't care what sport. You know, you look at it. Depth is good. You know, obviously, you know, the deletion of Darius for a year. You know, that certainly wasn't the original plan, but you've got to be able to adapt and adjust. You know, injuries are a part of the business. You know, roster changing, adding, deleting are a part of the business. Not just in Illinois, they're a part of it everywhere. You know, so we don't ever have any excuses, certainly. But, you know, for us, that maybe opens up some windows of opportunity for some other guys. Raise your hand, please, so I make it easier so I don't get caught picking between. I was going to say good and good, right? Okay, go ahead.
From a leadership perspective, I talked to you a couple weeks ago, and you mentioned the point guards, Abrams and Tate and Rice, stepping up in that aspect. But what about a guy like Mann, who's been here for a long time? What's his role in that going to be?
Nana plays a huge role. Nana's a returning captain. Right now he and Tracy are our captains until we vote again prior to our November 2nd opportunity that we have to play another opponent. And Nana's been here with us for 3 years. He understands more than anybody, embodies and represents what our culture is about. There's no question about that. He's obviously got a lot of ownership, and he should. I've given him a lot of ownership of our team. He makes a lot of decisions for us, and I trust his judgment a great deal. And the best thing about Nana is Nana just wants to win. He wants to compete. He wants to be really good. He wants to improve. He wants to get better. He understands that it's not just about him, that it's about Illinois. It's about helping his teammates. So we're thrilled to have Nana, as a captain and can rely on his experience and leadership. And, now with Tracy certainly off the court, obviously off the court, Tracy still, without question, has that voice of leadership. Obviously where Nana's going to be put in that position more is when the game's going on and you're on the 94-by-50. Tracy will certainly lead from a different viewpoint and perspective than he has, obviously, his first 3 years here at Illinois. But, Nana's going to have to help us with being that voice that I talked about or alluded to earlier regarding Tracy. Shannon.
Those young guys you talked about, I think everyone kind of saw them going up last year as the season went along. But what's the next step for them, and just how much have you seen them grow since then?
Talking about the freshman class, we have the 5 sophomores now. She asked about those guys growing, kind of the 5 sophomores. Each of them have different areas they're working on, Shannon. So I hate to kind of like group them into one setting. I'd like for a couple of them to be more competitive consistently. They're all 5 of them. The one thing I will say about all 5 of them that is consistent is their bodies have changed. They've added weight. They've gotten stronger. They're leaner. They have more muscle mass. I think, when you play in our conference, in our league, it's one thing for me to tell an incoming guy that's going to be part of their transition. It's another thing to play and feel, a guy leaning on you and how strong and physical they are, as a 19, 20, 21, 22-plus-year-old players that they're going against. So I do think that's consistent amongst the 5. Tate has done a great job here in preseason of leading, being very vocal. Not only leading by example, but also leading with his voice. I think that's been really important, especially without Tracy out there. Kendrick, obviously, the biggest thing with Ken was just getting him healthy. He had we were really lucky. We got through the whole season, his freshman year, and then we had the issue with the knee, and we're continuing to manage that. And, just be probably overly cautious with it. He is healthy right now. The strength level on with that knee is really good. But we want to make sure here in the preseason that we're managing, his time on court, his minutes, so to speak, in terms of training load. We keep a heart rate training load on our guys. But he's made progress, and the biggest change with him is his body. You'll see when you meet with him today, he's gotten bigger, he's gotten stronger, he's added weight. He's much more physically imposing. Hill has gained 20-plus pounds, and at the same time kept his body fat relatively the same. He's at 6'6" to 6'6.5", 230-plus. He's very physical and loves contact, as you guys know, who covers us, that cover us. So he's gotten better. He's really improved. Colbert's gotten bigger and stronger. He and Maverick had a really good opening weekend, Friday and Saturday. If this press conference would have been, Monday, I might not be complaining as much about their competitiveness. But unfortunately, it's after yesterday's practice, and we need them to be more competitive consistently, and that's something they know. And I expect from them and everybody on the team that's not negotiable. But they've improved as well and gotten bigger and stronger. I thought Morgan had a great summer and came into fall camp. When he returned there that first week or two, I thought his improvement was very noticeable. So those guys have improved, and they've been through the wars a little bit. Some of those guys, obviously last year they played, and I've reminded them they played out of necessity in some regard. Certainly not to say they didn't earn it at all, but we had to put them out there. This year, and hopefully as we continue to move our program forward, they've got to earn those minutes more. And I think they're aware of that, and that's one of the things that depth brings. Question?
I know
Sure.
Now you have the unfortunate injury of Tracy. That gave you the opportunity to have Ahmad this year where you may not have had him last year.
Yeah, no question. Yeah, I couldn't have put it any better. I don't know if I need to say anything else. You know, the Lord blessed us. Yeah, with Ahmad not getting the waiver, you know, and obviously being back, you know, you don't, you know, foresee something happening to Trace like it did, and you know, obviously at the time, you know, you go through that waiver process and you look how waivers were being granted at that time. I felt like it was inconsistent. You know, I was pretty forthcoming with that, and you know, but now you look back on it, and obviously with everything that's evolved and happened with our roster, you know, we certainly see it as a blessing that we have Ahmad with us this year. Yep.
Since practice started, did you see more of a change in starters with Tracy's injury?
It's a great question. You know, no, not really. You know, I've been trying to get him to be more vocal, really, even during the summer. He's made a lot of progress with that. I do think that the SEAL team stuff helped Ahmad immensely. I thought that our instructor, John McGuire, was able to get him out of his shell a little bit, and I think he's continued to get out of that shell and become more and more vocal. You'd have to ask him, you know, if he feels more responsibility from a vocal standpoint. But in terms of as a player, and I've said when asked last year, I mean, he's very gifted offensively. He's terrific off pick and rolls. He's a high-level shot maker. He makes good decisions. If you look at his career and you see his assist-to-turnover ratio, it certainly indicates that. Trying to get him to be a little bit tougher and nastier in our man-to-man defense. I thought last year he made some progress there. We need him to continue to make progress there. You know, at the previous place where he played, they played predominantly zone. And so, you know, that's been a little bit of a change for him, that accountability on that end of the floor. But I think he loves that. He loves challenges. He's a great teammate. You know, he's one that every guy on the team connects with. He just has that personality that everybody likes him on. You know, so I think that's a good thing. Jim?
Will depth in the distance shooters allow you to play more with the style you like to play?
Yeah, we certainly hope so. Obviously, this is, like I said, the deepest team we've had in 3 years. You know, we'd like to play faster, certainly, than we played last year by a landslide. You know, our first year, I thought looking back on the film, Jim, I thought we got off to where we were racing early, and then due to our lack of depth or the number of guys we were playing, I thought we kind of wound down a little bit late and became a little bit more half court than what we would like. But yeah, this year I'm hoping those guys, certainly players play players, and I'm hoping that they, you know, can earn enough minutes that we can play, you know, anywhere from 8 to 10 guys every night. That's what we'd like to do, you know, but they've got to earn that. I think the potential for that happening this year, from what I see thus far, much greater than the first 2 years. Tup.
Yeah, last year John Ray made an immediate impact, and as the season went on, it became hard to score. He took some
That's an understatement.
that might be out of character from what you want from him. But
Sure.
because you have other options and so forth. Can you just talk about Ray's role, Ray's shot selection?
Yeah, sure. Obviously, I thought we put a lot of pressure on Ray and Tracy last year to score the ball. You know, I think, you know, certainly in my 6 years, you know, they were a fun team to coach. Our guys kept getting better defensively. Our effort was off the charts. I mean, it was exceptional how hard we played, how well we competed defensively. But having said that, in my first 6 years, you know, I've said publicly, and certainly not to demean our guys, it's just a fact statistically, it was the worst shooting team and passing team that I've coached. And, you know, I think this year we're going to take major steps forward on that side of the ball on offense, Tup. I mean, we've added shooting. We've added 2 guys in Cosby and Starks that have each individually shot 40% or higher from the three-point line in a college season. We've added, you know, Starks' ball handling, Cosby's ball handling. You know, there's the freshman class that Shannon just mentioned earlier. Those guys have improved. They've gotten better. You know, the way Hill and Nunn shot the ball the last 12 Big Ten games, those guys were around 40 type guys as well from three. So, and I think our understanding of our offense and the discipline and details that are required to execute at this level have also improved. So with all those things kind of thrown into one melting pot, when you stir that up, you know, to me, that leads me to believe that we're going to be better, you know, offensively. It certainly allowed me to sleep a little bit better. Marcus.
You were one of the better defensive teams in the country last year. He was a big piece with Tracy and John and Joe a little bit too. Where do you stand on that end of the floor?
Well, I think we'll be, the way Cosby really defends, I think Nunn being healthier with the knee is going to allow him to be better defensively. Rice will be able to defend even better than he did last year because now there'll be times where we'll be able to get him blows. We don't have to leave him out there, stranded, so to speak. I felt like there were times we did that a little bit late in the year for sure. And then obviously Egwu is, he's as good as any guy I've coached defensively in my entire career. I think, his value is, it's hard to put a number on that one. He's stuff he covers up is, I'm not looking forward to the day when he's not on the roster. Steve.
Just give me what you just said about Nana. Compare him to Grego defensively.
Well, they're two different players. Nana really is more of a forward. Greg was a true center. Nana is very unique in that he's 6'11", depending on the day, weighs between 250 and 255, and runs about a 5:15 to 5:20 mile. That's like ridiculous. You don't see guys run like that, that are that size. His ability to move laterally, his athleticism, his speed, his quickness, all those things for his size is very unique, Steve. And then you add the part to it that he's so smart defensively. He just sees things. He sees things before they happen. He anticipates. He covers up when you do have sins. He covers them up a lot defensively. So, they're different because Nana's a little bit more forward-like, where Odin was more of a true center. And certainly in Greg's defense, Greg was hurt right out of the gates that year that we coached Greg. So he kind of stepped in about 10 games, 11 games in, playing with one hand, which is still amazing. I hadn't thought about it in a while. But different. But obviously Odin was the National Defensive Player of the Year that year, and he affected shot percentage at a really high level with his size and his length and his ability to anticipate. But I think Nana moves laterally. He allows you to do a lot of different things because of his athleticism and his speed and his quickness and length. Matt.
John, you cast a wide net geographically recruiting, but I'm curious to know from your perspective, what does it mean to have two guys from Champaign on this roster?
Well, that's great. Obviously for us, you learn more and more, and I said this at the beginning, I believe it even more now with everything you go through in recruiting that, we just want Illini guys. Obviously we recognize the importance of, our state and, the tradition that we've had of certainly having in-state players, and that's important to us. But at the same time, nothing really ever trumps, having Illini guys. Cultural fits, style of play fits, school fits, and I think for both those guys it certainly has. And, Ray and Michael both are, Ray's continued to improve, with his body and his weight and his body fat and his game and his mentality. And, Michael's had a lot of change already. He and LaRon both as freshmen with their bodies. I really like Michael and LaRon's competitiveness. Michael's very competitive. So it's exciting. I'm sure it's fun, for the fans as well and the community. And, both those guys have, represented us and, the community very well, both on and off the court, and whether that's academics or, those guys have done a great job in that area as well.
John, I think 12 scholarship guys, are you going to use that 13th scholarship at all?
We recruit every day. Yeah, we recruit every day, and I make those decisions, certainly what's best for the program. Obviously we're sitting on 12. Could we take a guy at the semester break? Yeah, if he's an Illini guy and he's a fit, will that present itself? I don't know. Yeah, we'll see. We currently have one available and have the flexibility to do that. Obviously, if you were sitting at 13 and someone came available at the end of the fall semester and you had 13 on scholarship, would you have the opportunity to do that? No, that would be eliminated from your thought process.
Aaron went over the season this summer and shot the ball fairly well, put up some big numbers. How has he been so far this year?
Aaron's been good. Cause is a ridiculous worker. He's in here all the time. He's that, I talk about having extra even and empty guys. Kaz is an extra guy. I mean, he gets extra workouts in. He takes good care of his body. He's gotten stronger. He's close to bench pressing 300 pounds. Nana got that the other day for the first time as well with his wingspan, by the way. I mean, that's amazing. Okay. But Kaz is physically strong. He defends. He makes shots. He really competes. I think the area of growth that's been, that's been really great to see as a coach for Kaz is when he came in here, I didn't think he competed every day. I thought he was a pick and choose guy. Now, I mean, the guys will tell you when he laces him up, I mean, and you're going against him, you better bring it because he's pretty consistent with that. He's physically strong. He's competitive. He hates to lose. Like, he's got that streak in him, and he's, living that out every day. He's much more of an everyday guy now than he was when he first got here. Yes?
With the changes to State Farm Center going into this year, what do you think of those changes and what it's going to do this other season?
Yeah, well, first of all, I'm excited about the changes. And obviously, if you look at the plans for the arena, and it just takes 5 minutes. You start going through all the architectural design and the plans, and we're turning over every stone, crossing every T, dotting every I. You have a 10 or 15 minute meeting on we're sitting there picking out the chair for the lockers, and every detail has been. We've engaged with every detail throughout the process, and I can assure you, I mean, it's going to be among the nicest in the country. So that part, because of what we're going through and looking at the big picture, I think we're, very excited about that. Obviously, it's caused us to adjust and adapt a little bit, but that's okay. I mean, you have to adjust and adapt in life. You have to adjust and adapt during a game. You have to adjust and adapt during practice. I mean, that's just the way life is. So, we've been willing to do that, and I think for us, we're looking at it like big picture. Wow, this is going to be the outcome. This is what it's going to look like. This is the end result. This is the pot of gold at the end of the rainbow. And for us, that concept, I think, trumps all the adjustments and adaptations that we have to make. One of the things in our culture, our guys will tell you, is we talk about being unconditional a lot. And this is just another example. You got to be unconditional. It really doesn't matter, what floor we practice on, who we play, when we play them, what time. Some of those things we can't control. Some of them we can. And we try to worry about what we can, and what we can't, we just let that ride and, do the very best we can every day to, have a willingness to adapt and adjust. Because you do have to be willing to do that, I think, in this situation with the building being renovated. But we're excited about the building.
Short term, not having a finished product to show recruits, does that matter at all?
Obviously you'd rather have a finished product, but Rome's not built in a day. I think people understand that. I've always felt like, I've had a chance to work at a lot of different schools and be on a lot of campuses, and I don't know if there was a campus in the summertime that had more construction going on than ours. I love that. Some people look at that, I love it. That just means that we're getting better. It means buildings are being renovated. That means there's new builds on campus. That means roads are getting fixed. That means, we're getting better. That's how I see construction and renovation. And, in an effort to continue to move that needle, forward, I think those things need to take place. So, yeah, you'd rather do that. But we obviously, we have video, we have pictures, we have all kinds of different things that we can show a recruit to get them excited about what the building's going to look like in the future. Yes?
You've mentioned, all the guys who got returning and everything. But what kind of impact are you expecting from this year's freshman class?
Well, obviously we're still early into it, but I've been impressed with both of them. First of all, mentally, they're both tough kids. They haven't gotten gobbled up at this juncture as freshmen. And, we work. The guys will tell you, I mean, it's pretty structured. And, we work. We have yoga. We have conditioning. We have strength training. We have mental training. We have nutrition. We have practice. There's a lot that goes into this. Those guys have not buckled one time. And because of that, I think they've gotten better. You always worry about young guys getting gobbled up by the process because it's so much different, the transition from high school to college. But those two guys are pretty mentally tough. I'm really glad we've got both of them in our program, and I think they're going to continue to get better. Do they have the potential to impact our team this year? No question. There's no question about that. To what level? They'll determine that. I told them the other day, as I say to you guys all the time, players play players. Lauren?
Is this a competitive situation that the four, is Hill going to play the four again this year, and is Black going to play the four? Is that a competitive situation that you foresee? And the second question, will there be any opportunity prior to the Quincy game for the media to see this team at all?
First question, Hill's learning two positions. If you remember last year, Lauren, I think you and I talked about teaching freshmen one position most of the time. Certainly haven't done that all the time. But I think one of the reasons that Michael and LaRon are excelling right now is because we've kept it very simple. They feel confident. They're starting to form some good habits. I think in the past when I look back on it, when I've tried to teach young guys two positions and everything's new, the whole college arena itself is new, I think you got to be really special to pick all those things up. If you're a multi-position guy, LaRon's learning one position right now, which is the four. By the time guys become sophomores, with rare exception, for example, a guy like Starks is learning one position, point guard, okay? Or you might have a guy that's a true center and your combinations of players that you could potentially play does not make it a requirement for him to learn the four, for example. Those things happen some. But most of the time, the guys on our team, by the time they get to the second year, learn and know at least two positions. The more versatile we can be, the better. It gives us a chance to play different combinations, different lineups. It gives us a chance to go big, gives us a chance to go small. Hill is making the transition right now, Lauren. Last year he played strictly the fourth guard in a four-guard lineup. Now he's learning the third guard spot. So now he's got both those things on his plate. Here the first week, it's been some days I watch him and say, hey, he's headed in the right direction, and then he'll hit a speed bump here and there because of confusion because the two positions are different. But that's normal. I think by the time we start getting, 3 or 4 weeks down the road here and we start getting to where, we're playing real games, he'll have it much more mastered, certainly, than he does now. But we want to have the ability to play those two together, for example. I think if you teach them just exclusively the same position, make them compete for that position, then you can't play them together. I want to be able to play them together. The more versatility we have, certainly the better. Your second question, I don't think I'm not going to answer that one yet because I think, DB, we met on that this morning, right?
Yep.
Yeah. We're going to take care of you, Lauren. All right. Next question. Steve.
Some leading rosters from last season turned over a lot in the Big Ten. What does that do for you in terms of opportunity?
Well, I don't know. Obviously you have a pretty good feel because you play those teams 1, 2, 3 times in some cases in terms of, who a senior is, who's leaving. Someone told me yesterday Purdue just got a point guard. I'm like, I have no idea. I'm this time of year I'm more worried about what we do, obviously. Because I can control that. I can't control what's happening with their rosters, the additions or deletions of players. There certainly has been, I would agree with you, Steve, some turnover in terms of, our league lost some really good players last year. I think there's a lot of them returning. I overheard Dustin talking the other day. I think it was, I may be wrong on this, but I think he said it was CBS Sports had 4 Big Ten players, a second-team All-American. So believe me, we're doing okay. The league's good. Shannon, you have one?
Yeah, just to follow up, we were talking about Starks and Cosby and being high percentage shooters. If you could just kind of break down their game a little bit, what they do well.
Starks, obviously, he has the ability to make tough shots. He's a great end-of-clock guy. He can make them, off balance, off the dribble, off the catch. He has ability to make tough twos, which, not everybody can make tough twos. He can score and shoot the basketball. Cosby's kind of the same way. He's not just a shooter. Obviously when you think of both those guys having shot the percentage they have in their careers from 3, that's the first thing that comes to mind. But both guys can put the ball on the floor. Both guys, when they get to the foul line, have shown that they can make a high percentage when fouled and can make you pay. Both of them are, Cosby can make shots off cuts. Think of like Ray Allen or Rip Hamilton or Reggie Miller, or those are not easy shots to make either. Cosby has a gift with that, so that gives you at least a little bit of an idea. On the defensive side, we need Starks to be a pit bull at his size, and maybe we'll be able to pick up a little bit full court with him at times because of his quickness and using his size as an advantage. And then Cosby's just physically strong and really, really tough defensively, especially on the ball, and right now is trying to master some of our principles off the ball at a little bit higher level than what he had mastered last season.
We have time for about one more
Derek?
question. Coach, can you talk a little bit more about Ravante's progression since last year and his hunger and motivation level going into this final season in Champaign?
Yeah, I mean, his work ethic, obviously, I've talked about all the changes that he made with his body last year. The amount of time he spent in the gym, very similar to Cosby. He comes in a lot on his own. He gets shots up. He stayed really, really consistent with diet, nutrition, weightlifting. I think I know he's at least up to 325 pounds on the bench press. He may be more. He's a specimen. I mean, obviously. And he's athletic. He's tough. Biggest thing I think he would tell you he's working on, Derek, is just the mentality. Not getting frustrated when adversity hits, and certainly it hits all of us at different times, and his ability to handle that and let it roll off his back a little bit, I think is something he would tell you he's really worked hard on. He's gotten noticeably better with it. So the mental side of the game is something that he's, really, really improved upon a lot. So, I think the other thing, too, for him, he's done a lot of things individually in his career in college, whether that's all conference or players of the week or double figures or whatever that might be. I think Ray understands now as a senior that he wants to do something special as a team. So I think just the mindset mentally probably is the biggest change in Ray. My brother was in for practice the other day, watching practice, and Ray got done talking. He said, Ray talked to me for like 20 minutes, and you could tell how thankful he is to be here and how badly he wants to have a great year and our team to have a great year because he realizes this is his last shot. So I think Ray's really matured a lot. Obviously, we all can continue to get better, but I think he's gotten better in that mental area and is really locked in on that more than anything else.
There's somebody else in the back.
Brad?
You had a great defensive season last year, struggled on offense, but you go in this year with more shooters. What's your one question mark? You feel like you'd be better on offense, be just as good defensively, but what's the question mark you got?
That's a great question. It's too early for me to say that. I want to watch him more. I want to coach him more. We've had, put it in perspective for you. This sounds odd, but we practiced one time a week during the summer for an hour. So that's 8 hours. Then in fall training camp on September 15th, NCAA rules say you can now work with your team. We did that 3 times. This past weekend, we went once on Friday, twice on Saturday, once on Sunday, took Monday off, went once on Tuesday, twice yesterday, took today off. We've actually practiced more in the last week than we did as a team combined in summer and fall training camp. So it's still early. Where does Finke and Black fit into the equation as newcomers? I want to be very open-minded with that, and I want to see who's improved and who plays well together, different combinations of players. I just think it's really early. The one thing they do know, though, is they know that at Illinois, you're evaluated on defending and rebounding. They know that, as sure as night follows day. So that they do know. So I think that's something that's been communicated very clearly. I do think at this stage in the game, and I probably should have said this at the outset, we're much further along now than at any time a week into the season. Not even close. Like the other day, I looked back, we were putting something in yesterday that I didn't put in until October 18th last year, and last year practice started on September 27th, a week earlier. So we're like 2+ weeks ahead on putting things in because we've got an older team. Our guys know what they're doing, and they've graduated at certain levels, so they're kind of ready for that next thing a little earlier than the previous 2 years. And it should be that way when you have 11 or 15 guys back.
Jim, you get the last question.
Real quick, with a more experienced team, was it your goal to have a tougher non-conference? How do you feel about the non-conference schedule?
I love our non-conference schedule. I think it's going to be challenging. Obviously, we're going to get opportunities to play away from home in great environments. I think it really prepares us well. For us, each year the schedule's different. A little bit unique. You compare it like Jim to like football. Football's scheduled so far out. For us, like next year's schedule's not completed. Still have 4 or 5 games to schedule and where we're putting them and the positioning of those games and Do we want it away? Do we want it home? All those different things get factored in. When are final exams? When are they going home for Christmas? How many in a row are we playing away from home? All those different things start to factor in. But in terms of this year's schedule, I think it fits this team well. It's going to give us opportunity to to get better, and I think we'll know a lot about our team after playing that schedule heading into Big Ten play.
All right.
Thanks, guys.
Everything else will be in oven in the men's gym. You go out the side door and